Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to the reward hour for March. Today we're going to be talking about, well, a whole bunch of stuff, but salary review cycles and um, well, the complexity around them. Delighted to have our guest today, Saime Kutuplu from the Central Total Rewards team at Delivery Hero. I'll pass on to you, Saime, for your own introduction, and then and then we can dive in.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you very much for having me for this March Rewards hours. And yeah, my name is Saime Kütüklü. I know that my surname is a little bit actually weird. People are saying in Germany that surname with a lot of umlaut u, so it is weird. I'm a delivery hero and responsible from Germany, end-to-end total rewards. And now, actually, I would like to share my experience and the overall challenges, all the fun part of the pay review process that we had in here as well.
Super. Well, welcome, Saime. For those of you who don't know me, or if this is your first reward hour, I'm Vaso. I'm the Chief People Officer here at Ravio. Ravio aims to make compensation as least painful as possible for for people like us, HR folks, reward folks, but also really any leader and any manager, anyone who thinks about compensation. Today we're going to be talking about basically salary reviews and how it feels like as time progresses they become more and more complex. We're juggling, really tight regulations, budget constraints, promotion volumes, number of promotions, but also budgets, stakeholder expectations. So it's hard. I certainly struggle with it a lot. And it was one of the reasons why I joined Ravio, to try and make this process as simple as is possible. But today we're going to be doing a little bit of a retro on what has worked for both of us, what hasn't worked, and what we'd be changing for next time. So, Simon, we're excited to hear about your experience at Delivery Hero. I'll also weigh in with any challenges and wins that we've had from Ravio. I'm going to kick off with a poll. Hopefully, this will flash up on everyone's screen. So the question we're asking is, what was the biggest challenge that you faced when it came to this salary review cycle? So hopefully you can just sort of click whatever is most relevant to you. And feel free to follow up in the chat about why whatever you voted for was a challenge in this particular review cycle. But Simon, what would you say was your biggest challenge from the most recent review cycle at Delivery Hero?
Um, it is one of the things, right? So we as a total reward is going to an actually different era of our overall function. So we are going to be much more regulative, much more. We need to be much more transparent. And one of the biggest thoughts that we had in back of our minds before we plan of all of our pay cycles, that okay, how we are gonna manage all these actually compliance requirements, how we are gonna make sure that our get used to way of doing this whole pay review cycle is gonna work with these new compliance processes, regulations, and we don't want to create an actual additional process or challenges for us in the next cycles, right? This was one of the biggest challenge for us. And plus, while all those regulations, all these limits are in place, we also would like to make sure that we we continue to reward our high performing people. We would like to continue to make sure that okay, our high impact employees has been differentiated in the process. But it was an actually one of the biggest challenge for us that okay, how can we continue to do this in the environment of this new highly regulated um, life or the world that we are stepping into right now. This was one of the actually biggest challenge that we had while we
Yeah.
are doing all of our pay review planning this cycle.
Yeah, it's interesting, and obviously it doesn't affect every single business, but it affect the ones that it does affect. It's an important, well, it's just such a mountain to overcome, right? Um, yeah, we can see from the poll, like budget constraints and managing expectations is high up there. But also process efficiency and timelines and regulatory compliance a little bit lower. But of course, also with the EU Pay Transparency Directive coming in, that's going to start being like a bigger part of all of our professional lives as well, and something that we're going to need to adhere to. Um, Obviously, at Ravio, we're a small company. We're not in a regulated space. But yeah, I resonate with the comments in the chat in that, um, the kind of constraint that I'm dealing with is budget, basically, which is, I think, pretty universal, to be honest. But for small companies, perhaps we're a little bit more restricted there. Um, Now, one interesting problem that I've had this year is layering in really high performance across the board. So, a great problem to have. And lots of people who, are ready for promotions, or sort of big steps within the same band. Um, this creates a similar challenge around being able to differentiate and appropriately reward people who are who are ready for that next step. Um, yeah, so it's been an interesting time for me to think about that. Again, like really, a great problem to have, but trying to think creatively about how else we can reward people outside of just money has been top of mind. So uh, y- some things that we've played around with is a little bit more sort of emphasis on learning and development, for example, mentorship, or some more sort of snazzy rewards, like one of our high performers wanted preferred a reward in the for a voucher, for example, for something really fun. So that's been interesting. Um, I mean, how would you navigate this at Delivery Hero? So when you have more high performers or promotion candidates that can like fit neatly within your budget.
This is, I think, very common, right? So, especially in the high performing cultures, especially in the high performing organization, fast growing, this is one of the things. Our budget remains same and possibly same as last year because of all these actually coming this cost pressures in all around the world. We are trying to be flat in our cost, making sure that okay, we are not creating an huge impact uh, for this fixed cost for the organizations, right? But if everyone is high performing, then how we are gonna manage this? One of these things we are also using the same thing as you said, right? We are not focusing only to the merit cycle. We would like to utilize or the leverage each and every opportunity that we had. So one of those things actually we here a little bit use more on this global being a global organization is also helpful for us because if there are too many actual high performing people, a lot of which is amazing. And then we would like to make sure that okay, we are creating an opportunity not only in Germany but across all other brands of Delivery Hero. It could be a different international mobility opportunities for those people. So we are trying to highlight those actual opportunities. But on top, we would like to make sure that okay, if everyone is high performer, this is also the one of the real part maybe, right? If everyone is high performer, it is also important that actually rewards the highest one more. This is one of the things that the creating a meaningful differentiation between the performance part, right? Yes, we are topping up with these additional recognition cultures, additional opportunities in the organization, but we also would like to make sure that our budget, allocated budget for the specific country, is gonna be distributed fairly, and this fairness will always and actually going to show this performance impact, right? So in the environment that everyone is high performer, we would like to make sure in delivery hero as that, yes, highest top highest performer is going to be rewarded the most, and for the other all the other employees, we would like to make sure that we are going to be competitive in the market. We will always create an actually opportunities and growth possibilities for everyone in the organization, while we are making sure that this meaningful differentiation remains in the organization. This is
Mhm.
tough. I think it just needs to be juggling with the different elements, right? People are generally thinking that, okay, if you are reward, you have a big number sheets that you have, and then you are managing it. But now I think in this environment, we need to be also be very creative on that, how we are gonna reward, how we are gonna acknowledge and show our recognition towards our employees.
Yes, absolutely. But I like this idea about scaling the reward according to yeah, the scale of high performance. So that's really interesting. But I know you've done other interesting things around promotions at Delivery Hero, and specifically like decoupling them and separating them from the like comp review cycle. Instinctively, that feels like it could be something that helps with some of the budget and expectation challenges from our employees that we're talking about. Uh, is there anything you could highlight around that decision?
Yeah, of course. This is one of the things actually that we were doing in Delivery Hero for a long time. I just need to admit here to everyone, right? It is not something that we are deciding yesterday and implementing today. We were in the similar situations few years back, and we were actually trying to stabilize all this volume within the organization. And we said that we would like to make sure that merit cycle is a merit cycle, and the promotion needs to be aligned with our organizational target, organization structure, right? Because sometimes if we do not, yeah, actually in that time few years back, we when we do not have this separation, we were always receiving a questions, since I couldn't promote you, I would like to give you the same level of increase like a
Mm,
promotion. So no promotions, but the compensation impact is going to be there, so you do not feel left out as an employee. This wasn't, as I said, right, the journey. We have separated it. We said that merit cycle is for everyone, for all eligible employees, and it is, yeah, in the heart, it is the performance. And then the promotion, performance still has an impact, of course, because it supports also the overall individual readiness. But to be able to have the promotion, we also would like to make sure that the organizational structure, that the role is also ready for it. And we have started with this, right? We kept some thresholds. We make sure that managers are planning those target organizations ahead of the year in their budget planning before a year ago. And then we were actually limiting them and pushing those people, pushing those managers to think in that perspective. In the beginning, they were was it is impossible. We will not be able to do it. It is too low. We cannot live with this, etc. But the more we push them to the in the conversation, the more we actually ask them that, okay, but let's talk about the role readiness. Why you need this level of the role? Why you need these promotions? How you are gonna manage it? What it is gonna be the 2 years later process for that specific organization? So tell us those things. And once they actually started to have those conversations, they saw in the first cycle that they don't need that much promotion. Perfect. And then in time, as we said, right? So then we said that in the mid-year, we are gonna really have less promotion. We would like to move all those promotion cycle into one time in the year. And Then they also said that it is not manageable for us, but we will try. Then actually in 2 years we have managed to get in the shape, and now everyone is actually acknowledge the reality that promotion needs to be something needs evaluated based on the target organization structure, and this is something on top of merit, right? We
Mhm.
Everyone is going to have the merit normal annual pay review, and then we are discussing the additional promotion layers that if individual and the role itself is ready to go up on a higher level.
Sure, sure. So that, I mean, it's super super interesting. As you say, it's a process that takes place over that evolves over a long time. But what exactly was the problem that you were trying to solve when, right at the start, when you decided to separate promos from the sort of standard comp review?
As I actually, one of the things, of course, we need an organizational stability, right? This is one of
Yeah.
the things. So this, when I say the stability, it's also of course coming with a little bit more in the cost as well. If I need to manage my overall organizational budget, cost remain or the stable year over year, which I need to also think about that. Okay, my promotion velocity, I cannot allow the overall organizational leveling higher and higher and higher all the time. I need to be able to ensure that, okay, this is what I need and this is the overall expected cost for the organization. This was one of
Mm.
the things actually. And then when we become a bit more actually mature organization, when we were fast growing, it was easier, honestly, right? Then there
Yeah.
are a lot of opportunities, a lot of roles everywhere, and we had time. But when we started to be stable as delivery hero, then all those opportunities also remains less and less. And at the end of the day, we also need to think about that. Okay, if the overall opportunity or the change or the attrition is not high as the pandemic level 5 years ago, then we need to think about that. Okay, how we are going to make sure that we put more process around this. This is also one of the reasons we reduced the cycle, created an actually much more mature conversation into the table, and ask people that, okay, not only for individuals but organization readiness, role readiness is an additional criteria that we need to think in promotions.
Got it. And what was the initial reaction from managers, employees, leadership, etc., when you started making the change?
No, that was actually, as I said, right? So in the beginning, everyone is thinking that no way, this is impossible. Everyone was thinking that no, 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 I need all those promotions. I need to promote all of my team. Simon, we
Yeah.
cannot do this, right? So of course, as we said in the beginning, the reaction was that it is not doable because they need also time to adjust their practices. And then
Yeah.
in time, we actually did it slowly, slowly. So we kept the 2 cycle first and then eased the mid-year cycle. We added the criterias one by one into the system. When I actually think those ways, people are, I am a compensation person, right? So people are thinking that I am the number person within the HR environment. However, the number part is the probably easiest way when you get used to it, because that's we are spending a lot of time to communicate to make sure that managers or the employees understands that what we are up to, how we are gonna manage it, how this way of doing is also gonna be helpful for them. So this is one of the things, right? They freaked out in the beginning, but through the consistent communication, through the all these actual explanations, now they see it. But it takes us, as I said, 2 years to have this in place fully.
Yeah. I mean, it takes time and it takes, as you say, constant communication and education to sort of hammer the message home consistently. So yeah, I don't imagine it was easy, but well done for persevering. We have a question from Ariana. I hope that's not, I haven't butchered your name there. Thank you for the promos topic. I think the organizational model and readiness fits when you think of leadership promotions. But what do you do about expert career paths? We have many great individuals who don't want to grow in management roles, but they continue growing within their expert track. And I'm guessing the follow up to this question is, when do experts or ICs, professional track, whatever you call it, sort of tap out because how could you possibly sort of keep going upwards? Um, any insight?
Think that's how we do, right? So we are making sure that these career frameworks that we have in the organizations are very clear. And then in these, especially in the technical roles, right? In the all these engineering roles, we are making sure that our bar, our performance bar is high, and it is not going to be something that only for the tenure based promotion cycles. So if we are promoting any individual contributor roles in the tech environment, we are making sure that those individuals are aligned with the bars that has been set for the higher level role. And then if this competence and the skills and this individual readiness is ready, we are actually allowing the promotions in that process. But this is also one of the things, right? We are making sure that this all these levels readiness bars or these competence levels is very clear for every employees, so people are not coming and expecting us that I am sitting here in this specific role for 3 years, I would like to be promoted, right? We are saying that no, perfect, we are so happy that 3 years and we want you to more and more in the organization. However, I see, or actually senior level engineering role requires this. If you are there, go for it. But if this competence level is not there yet, then we are making sure that that's okay. We are not compromising that performance bar or the competence bars that we had. This is actually how we are managing it. And in case of all of our employees are really matching those levels, currently we could promote all of them. Yeah, but considering that this bar is high and we are
Very
making
high.
sure that people are actually working towards it, it's currently working for us.
Super. That's thank you. Thanks, Saime. We also have a question from Michelle, which hopefully we can take quickly and then sort of resume. So Michelle is asking, did you notice any effects on churn during those 2 years of establishing the framework? And Michelle says, I can imagine some people within the organization saw the implementation as a limiting factor for their careers and may have chosen to leave.
Honestly, this is not something that has taken to my attention. We might at the end of the day, but in our level of organization, there is, at least as a rewards manager of this organization, I did not receive the feedback saying that because of this we are losing people, right? So that was not a trend for us. But I
Mhm.
don't know if there are some specific individuals had it, might be the cases, but it didn't turn out an actually significant problem for us.
Okay, that's that's encouraging. Encouraging to know. Okay, and then there was also one more question from Sarah. Do you set a so it's a question to you, Simon. Do you set a promotional increase value, either a move to the bottom of the band or a minimum percentage of salary, as an example when there's a promo?
I'm actually as a delivery hero, as a person that's working in the delivery hero reward function, I can tell it in a global way that we are making it very transparent in our pay review, pay progression principles. And our
Mhm.
promotion principles is also very transparently open to the employees as well. So everyone knows that what is going to be the overall positioning. We will make sure that new promoted employees is going to be moving to the internal reference level, so not to create any future gap issues for us. So we are not starting with the minimum of the range. We will make sure that all these new promo employees is going to be matching up with the average of the new level. So we will have those things. One of the reasons actually why we had this rule, that because of these new hires, right? So whenever we are new do the new hires in that specific level, we were hiring people on an actual as aligned with the internal reference, right? On an average comp ratio or whatever is it. And when we promoted people to the lowest pay or to lower than the average, then it's always creates an additional concern or additional problem for us in the next pay review cycle. They are saying that just because of you have promoted this employee with the minimum, I would like to do the catch up and I need an additional adjustment budget. And if my overall pay budget is limited, all these additional adjustment is also hard for us to create an additional budget room to be able to do this catch up everything, etc. This is why for promotion specific as well, we are creating our principles not to create any future adjustment issue for us, future gap for us. So we are trying to keep everyone actually as aligned with the internal reference, even newly promoted or new hire cases.
Okay, got it. Yeah, well, it's never simple, is it? The more, there's more complexity that keeps getting added. But great to hear that you're being really transparent, and how that's helping. Um, we have one more question, which I actually think is relevant, so we'll take it now and then resume. So the question is, how do you link compensation to a skill taxonomy? Specific at Delivery Hero, specifically, how do you identify the skills of the future to ensure internal mobility is a viable and rewarded path for employees during these review cycles?
Uh, this is something else that we are working on it, right? I would be a little bit selling more if I say that we fixed it. We haven't. And we are also working on it, especially in nowadays, right? In the last 1 year with all these AI vibe or actually demand AI, increased AI demand in the overall environment. I feel that we went back to the software engineer era 5 years back, right? Back then, all these engineer was critical, and we are trying to understand that how we are going to keep those those skills in the organization, how we are going to attract. And now it has turned to the AI for a majority of the tech organizations. What we are trying to do, as I said, this is also something that we are trying to figure it out. And also we would like to make sure that, okay, even we define the skills, how we are going to ensure that the measurement is going to be in place, right? How we are going to ensure that, yes, that specific skill is also showing off in this specific employee so we can convert it to the pay. It's not the easiest questions. What we are trying to do, actually creating a career framework, making sure that all these job catalog we had has all these competencies, skills, and we are trying to do all these differentiations through our job catalogs. This is what we have right now, but as I said, this is an evolving process that we are also working on it a lot.
Yeah, and I think we all are, and if we're not right now, we will be, in 6 months, in a year. So that's going to be top of all of our agendas. I feel, but yeah, it's hard. Um, if we, so great to hear about all the amazing work you guys have been doing at Delivery Hero. On the sort of wins front, my one here at Ravio, and obviously we're a very small company, about 70 people at the moment. But the win that we had this year was that our comp review, well, it was just an operational win. So our comp review was really, we succeeded to really shorten the time that the salary review took place, during which the salary review took place. So I think this was either the third or the fourth annual cycle that we ran. And previously, I would kick it off in September, hoping to finish in October. And then inevitably, all the previous years, it dragged into December. And I was sort of trying to finish it, just before Christmas, and making sure that everybody got paid. This year, I decided to take a different approach and to just sort of really compress the process as much as possible. So we opened and closed it within 5 weeks. Um, Obviously we're a small team, so it was possible. It meant that we did a little bit more manual lifting. So, for example, instead of relying on leaders to proactively nominate people for their peer feedback, for example, this sat with my team, the people team. So we literally made it happen. We booked the conversations in people's diaries with rooms. So we sort of held all the operations centrally to make sure we could control it and ensure it happened in time, so that we couldn't so that the timeline didn't keep getting dragged on. Don't get me wrong, we still had a hectic day just before the payroll deadline before Christmas, but overall we succeeded in starting and finishing within 5 weeks, and I'm really happy, and I'm doing the same thing again. So shortening the painful part of my year. But I imagine at Delivery Hero, with so many employees, so many different markets, different types of employment. Well, I imagine process efficiency, must be a focus point for you as well.
For everyone, I guess, right? So because at the end of the day, this is the most important time of the reward people. And then one of our actually senior managers in the organization were explaining this to me, that Simon thinks this as an elephant in the manager's brain, because we start these conversations, that elephant sits in the head of the manager, and then you are asking me to not to remove that elephant for 2 months. I cannot do this. Because at the same time, we also cannot stop the operations for that mind, right? I cannot ask managers to only think about these pay processes, even it is the most important topic at that time. They still have the business rooms to play, right? This is also one of the things that we are working always to make it more efficient, more short, more clean for everyone. 5 weeks is not possible in an organization at our scale, honestly.
Yes.
But we are
Of
trying to make sure that, okay, be clear enough, and okay, people are understand. Because when I see as a professional doubts that I have, if I shorten the time, then I am losing my time to communicate the what it is changing this cycle, how we are gonna do it. And then if I do not do the proper communication, then people managers also feel a little bit actually don't understand what they are doing. They are really in doubt, and it also creates an additional operational load for the rest of the people and culture team, right? This is one of
yes.
the things that we are making sure it. From an executional part, we have shortened the whole pay process. Now we get used to our systems and how we are doing. We are good. But for us, the planning and aligning on all these negotiation time still takes a lot of time. And we are trying to actually balance this through a bit more structured processes. So we do not need to create each and every plan each and every time, right? We shouldn't start everything from the scratch each and every year. We should be able to follow the similar process year over year. But yeah, I don't think that we have fixed this in Delivery Hero. There's always huge step into improvement.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a big operational lift, whatever you do. But I think if we, keep learning every time and every cycle and keep improving, then hopefully each cycle feels a little bit less hectic. And we, even with a small organization, I didn't get everything right. Like, one thing that I am hopefully planning on doing better this year, with this upcoming cycle, is, as you say, the manager communications. So that's something that I sort of did on a one-to-one basis, but I don't think I did it very well, and it certainly doesn't scale appropriately. So, for sure that was a trade-off that I made. Hopefully something that I do better on next time.
I think this is the time, right, for everyone to, like we are doing right now. We are now going back to internal retros that we are gonna have, and whatever that we had good, we will try to keep it for the next cycle. And we are creating our list that okay, those are the things that we are gonna be improving next year.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And I guess one of the challenges that I'm still wrestling with, and I'm curious how this plays out for you, Simon, because of the scale of the global team, is ensuring that everybody actually does get actionable feedback, so making sure that managers are able um, write down and explain eloquently what the feedback is, and then making sure they deliver it in an appropriate way. So not just, oh, here's your rating, thanks, see you later. One thing that I think it went well for me this last time that we did the performance review, was actually by asking folks to be very streamlined with their communication. So we suggested a word count limit. I think it was 200 words maximum, and that actually helped because limiting the word count meant that it forced people to be concise. So actually, instead of like writing an essay of 2 pages, actually the 2 paragraphs of clear actionable feedback um, worked better than I thought it would. But yeah, how do you approach feedback quality at Delivery Hero, especially when the comp review might not have delivered the result that people hoped for?
Yes, people always hope for highest, right? There's nothing, there's reward is never enough.
Yes.
But how we do it, right? So our overall pay review process starts with the performance, and actually before that, we are starting with the feedback as well. So we are making sure that the whole this feedback process is opened early enough. And at the same time, one of the things that actually we are doing, we are encouraging people to do this feedback all time year, right? This is one of the,
Yes.
because otherwise, while everyone is trying to do their performance evaluations, they also receive tons of feedback requests from the rest of the team, from other team members or the other stakeholders. So the overall amount of work is could be not possible to manage in that short period of time. So this is why we are encouraging people to have this feedback culture throughout the year, not specific to one specific time of the year,
Yes.
not only the end of year. Please always, this is why our system is always open for a feedback, right? This is one of the things. And then another part that we would like to make sure that these feedbacks, whatever the given feedbacks, whatever the received feedbacks, is going to be reaching out to the employees. We are creating we are keeping the responsibility of the managers, that manager needs to review the feedbacks, and then that the feedback summary has to be included to the overall performance evaluation. This is one of the things. And
Mhm.
to be able to break the link a little bit more, yeah, because if he says that those are the perfect feedback that you have received, but you are going to receive only 2% increase, right, because of whatever, then people are actually also can underestimate the overall quality of the feedback. This is why we are always keeping that feedback and the performance process has closed. Please communicate, make sure that you are also communicating these feedbacks, the overall evaluations, your growth plan can start without waiting for the pay process. And of course, you just top it up with the pay as an additional, but the performance and the growth conversation can also be done outside of, separately as well. This is what we are
Mhm.
trying to do. But yeah, this is an actual real dilemma, right? So I cannot say that people may not feel enough recognized based on the good things that they are hearing. But this is also one of the things we cannot do this differentiation for everyone, this actually calibration somehow needs to be happen to be able to have a fair distribution of our budget.
Yes, yes, of course. Agreed, agreed. Um, it's also, I guess, one thing that has worked for me. I'm not sure how you could scale it to like a massive team. Is also making sure that we, as the people team, are holding managers accountable for the continuous feedback that they should be giving. So, if we have a system set up in place and we just use our HRIS module, it's not too expensive. It's not perfect, but it works. Um, but I'm able to track who's giving feedback when. So I can see which managers are, really diligent with that prerequisite of their role, and the other ones who are, less diligent. And that also has an impact on, so for the ones who are less diligent with the feedback, because we're able to track it, that means that has an impact on their own performance rating, because it means that if managers are not giving the feedback that is part of their responsibilities, then that means that a key part of the management capability requests at Ravio isn't being fulfilled. So a little bit carrot, a little bit stick, but it's it's worked well up to now. um, Cool. I think so. We had a question from Charlotte, which I think fits well here. Charlotte is asking, are there any recommendations of tools that could help with ensuring we manage the comp review and promotions in a transparent, well-structured way to help teams that do not have any comp and bens expert due to a small size company? I'm happy to take this. Charlotta, here at Ravio, we just use, we're a tiny company. We do have comp and bens expertise in-house, I have to say. But in terms of the operational process, we have the HRI, the module for performance reviews from our HRIS. And you know what? It's not perfect, but it works and it just keeps things going. It just means that I can sort of monitor completion rates, nudge people to complete like what they need to do on their end. It's simple, but it works. If there is no budget at all for any sort of module, I have in the past ran at comp reviews and performance reviews on, Notion, and then a good Excel sheet. That works too for a small size company. And overall, my recommendation would be, if you're a really small company, just keep it as simple as possible. If you have 3 layers, 3 levels, junior, mid, senior, that'll do for now. You can always make it more complex, but you don't need to do it from as early as possible. Make sure you have as good benchmark data as you can, and just be clear about what the philosophy is, but don't overcomplicate too early. Start early, but don't over engineer. You don't need something that works for a delivery hero kind of scale when you're sort of 30, 40 people. um, but feel free to also like message me afterwards and we can chat about it. I don't know, Simon, if there was anything you wanted to add.
Actually, as you said, right? So the simple is the best. This is one of the thing. Of course, any systems that I have used till now is that I'm generally using and actually very well known these HRS systems, and they have
Yes.
their own actual limitations. But at the end of the day, it keeps the overall architecture steady, so it always helps for us. But one of the things, right? None of the HRS system is going to be enough by itself. This is one of my general feedback. I cannot consider any system without G Sheet or Excel, this Excel is gonna be must part of this process to be able to make it more efficient and understandable for everyone.
Yes, yes, agreed. Okay, cool. And if we, we're just mindful of the time, but if we dig into something that ties a lot of this all together, how do you, well, how should we actually translate performance ratings into compensation changes that feel meaningful to the individuals when we're working within all of these constraints that we've been that we've been talking about, whether that's regulation, operational constraints, workers' councils, that kind of thing. Any ideas?
This is one of the actually key and important principles that we are really working on to keep it in our life, right? We are making sure that the higher reward for the higher performance or for higher impact. What we are doing, of course, yeah, as you said, in the environment that the more regulations, okay, no gap more than 5%, and then, okay, more structured principles or the rules that we are implementing because of the agreement, because of all these compliance rules, we actually, our manager sometimes feels that, no, I cannot give enough, I would like to differentiate more, that employee deserve more. I agree, and honestly, right, that sometimes people deserves more, and in majority of the time people deserve more. I totally fine. What we are doing, we are making sure that this differentiation is going to be meaningful and visible based on our performance rating outcome. Right? This is one of the things that we do not want to compromise as an organization. That because if we have the principles, we would like to show it that we are living those principles, right? So if our pay approach is to reward more for the higher impact people, then I would like to make sure that we are doing it and everyone see that how we are doing it. And one of the things that I would like to make sure that this differentiation is in every pay components that we have. That if we have it, it could be the base pay, it could be bonus, it could be equity, or the additional on top awards. I am making sure that this differentiation is gonna be visible in every component. So when we sum it up, it is gonna also create a more meaningful differentiation. Because sometimes we were doing this, yes, let's not differentiate base pay, only differentiate bonus, or let's not differentiate this one but differentiate this one. One of the things we would like to make sure that differentiation in every pay components that we are going to have. So by actually making sure that this is an or constant differentiation for everything, then it will also reflect it to their organization much more. This is how we find out the way.
Yeah, definitely. But have you, to what extent have you, either at Delivery Hero or elsewhere, explored any other sort of creative solution when it comes to merit increases? So, obviously, salary, bonus, equity, great, get that. Um, have you experimented with other sort of things that could be um, defined as reward?
As you said in the beginning, right? This is one of the things. In the time of that there is no budget, we are always thinking about and actually let's holistically what is our overall proposition for the employees. Yes, we pay, we do the bonus, but there are additional opportunities that anyone can get it in Delivery Hero. It could be growth opportunities, it could be additional recognition, it could be additional actually uh, different things that we had in all around the HR. We are trying to leverage all of them and creating an one meaningful storyline for this. Yeah, but just be creative, right? This is the one. So I cannot say that this is the way of it. Whenever we feel that we are stuck, we are human. And I think that humans are very good on that finding and solutions in the most critical times. Whenever we feel that, oh no, this is not working, and then some different things that came up, different ideas came up, and we are trying to make sure that we are doing our best for our organization and for our employees.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an amazing place to work, and it sounds like you're doing some yeah, some really great work. So well done. Um, but yeah, I guess just to end, and then we have another few questions that have come in. Saime, if you had to say, what's from the last like cycle, what is the number one lesson that you take with you for the next one?
I actually, as a person that I just finished my overall cycle, everything is still
Yeah,
fresh for us. But I am
great.
actually feeling that communication is really matters, right? This is one of the things. Sometimes that since we are planning too much time on planning, and it is very much straightforward for us, for PNC, for people and culture colleagues, managers are doing it once in a year, and they really need much more hands-on support from our side. This is one actual number one priority for me for the next year. I will try to make sure that okay, people really understands that's what we are doing, and I'm really hoping that all this EU transparency act coming up, we will do much more communication in during the year, so it will help us. This is the number
Mhm.
one priority that I am taking it up. And of course, yeah, this is the one thing that I will keep always in my mindset. How can I make it better for next year?
Yes, and actually, I couldn't agree more. And it's definitely something that was a reflection for me and us here at Ravio at a much different scale, but an important reflection. Okay, so we have a few minutes to cover some questions, which is super. So Gina has asked. Um, so I'm not sure when this question came in, but let's see. So if you pay newly promoted employees the average of peers at the new level, isn't this quite a high cost approach? Shouldn't pay reflect tenure/experience and performance in the role rather than matching someone who has 2 or 5 years experience?
This is one of the, of course, it may be different organization and organization, right? So, but for us, we are making sure that this is not something that the tenure based, because
Mm-hmm.
tenure is not a reflection of the any competence level. Might not be the reflection of the any competence level. Yes, of course, we know that the more you do it, probably you are going to do it better, or because you are going to be experienced in that specific one. But I see that the linking it directly to the tenure is a little bit risky,
Mm-hmm.
because I would like to make sure that okay, we are just measuring it based on the performance evaluations and accordingly the overall competence level of the people. This is one of the things. And yeah, from our perspective, considering that we are, our overall pay actual positioning is very healthy in Delivery Hero, and this is why actually moving people to an average level is not creating a huge additional cost impact for us. But as I said, this might change an organization to organization. This is just an overall working mechanism for us because of our current trends in the overall positioning.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. Hopefully, Gina, that answers your question. And then Emma has asked, you mentioned good challenges earlier around having a high number of top performers. What type of performance rating scales are you using? And does your calibration process place limits on the percentage of employees in each performance rating?
This is one of the things actually. We have moved away from a forced distribution curve approach. So we do not
Yes.
follow a specific percentage for any specific performance rating. But as we said that we are doing the calibration, right? It is also matters that okay, if everyone is high performing, we are would like to make sure that okay, who is gonna be differentiated within all these high performing people. This is why actually we do not have any specific percentages in our organizations, because we are not following a forced distribution curve, etc. But we will make sure that okay, we are doing these calibrations. We are really actually putting a lot of time and effort in this calibration health process. Yeah. make this calibration process healthy as much as possible. And this is how we are actually making sure that our process currently works, but no specific percentages.
Yes, that's really interesting because actually here at Ravio, much smaller company, um, my answer is exactly the same. So again, we don't force a normal distribution. We're a very small team. It feels completely unnatural. What we do try is to have as much content as possible around, what does um, what does each level within each department involve? What are the expectations? So we want that sort of framework to be really well transparent, really visible, and very clear and very detailed. And then also, what do the different performance ratings actually mean? So we use a 5-point scale from does not meet expectations to greatly exceeds expectations. And I really try and sort of hammer home what we mean for every single rating. And then within the calibration process, as we go up the levels with all of our managers and then leaders and then executives, it's one of my favorite parts of the process, actually. We have really interesting conversations where we challenge each other on, um, you know, uh, whether we think it's fair that that particular individual is actually in a, I don't know, P3 marketing role. And if so, then are they greatly exceeding or are they exceeding? And it's easier to do with a smaller company because we sort of know everyone and can see the output of their work. But yeah, that's how. Well, I'm glad that we share this, Saime, despite the difference in scale.
No, but I think it is important, right? Even the scale is different. I see that the overall process is the same. It just takes a bit more time for us to be able to complete the whole organization evaluations. But we are making sure that we spend that time and everyone is also actually see the value of having those conversations.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we have a couple of minutes for one other question that I've just spotted from Veronica. How do you manage the width of salary bands now that the European Pay Transparency Directive dictates that there should be no more than a 5% gap between workers in the band?
Correct. I am sure that this 5% gap is also discussed in many different pay transparency calls. But one of the things that we are keeping our salary ranges, because at the end of the day, 5% gap is something that requires an additional explanation, right? So if 5% gap is there and we can explain this with an adjusted figures, there is no harm to do it. And if that all these actually band positioning principles are clear and transparent for everyone, it is okay to do it. So basically, we are keeping our actually width bench, which is around 40% to 50% between the min and max at this point. But we are making sure that all of our principles, all of our actually how we are doing it, how we are moving people, which people can be at higher level, which people are going to be at lower level, etc. Making it an actual written form, transparent to the employees, and making sure that all these analyses are easily accessible from anyone in the organization. This is what we do. So we are not reducing our ranges to the 5%. This is not, we will keep our width of ranges, but we will make sure that this range width is not going to create us an additional problem in our adjusted figure calculations.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the detail on a difficult subject that we're sort of still feeling our way around. But yeah, we're right on time. Saime, thank you so much. This has been really interesting hearing about all the great work that you're doing at Delivery Hero, and thank you to the audience for the great questions. Simon, we'll have to do it again, please.
Thank you very much for having me. It was also really enjoyable for me to share an experience, and if it is helpful, I'm happy.
Super. I'm so glad. We'll do a second version as well. But yeah, thanks a lot. Wishing everybody a great day. And we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.